Hey everyone, it's Jeannie, and today I am back to share a scene card which I haven't done in a while. They are featuring these two stamp sets from Gerda Steiner Designs, Happy B-Day, and the new one called Ladybugs. Ladybugs is pretty new. I actually don't even know if it's released yet, but if it is, I will leave a link down below in case you're interested. So today is a one layer scene card, and if you follow me, you know what that means. It's a bunch of stamping and a bunch of masking. So I went ahead and stamped these two ladybugs down on my A2 card panel, and using Eclipse masking paper, I will be creating masks for every single one of my images. I wanted to create a scene where these two ladybugs are kind of on the ground having a conversation next to a bunch of poppies, and another ladybug will be flying towards them to join in on the conversation. For the poppies themselves, there are 3 images in the Happy B-Day set, and I kind of wanted to change it up a little bit so they weren't facing all in the same direction. Because the stems are open-ended, you're able to extend them with a pen, which I will do later and I will show you. What I did was, for the masks itself, I just cut the stem a little bit longer, and I will deal with drawing them in later on. For the stems themselves of the poppies, you can kind of move them around in your MISTI so they are angled differently and they look like different images. So you can see that the first 2 that I stamp are the same floral image, but I move the stems in different directions. It just adds a little extra to the card, so not everything is the same. I will be stamping 5 of the florals for the right hand side of the card, and usually with my cards I like to do things in odd numbers. So there will be 5 florals and then 3 ladybugs. For the larger flower, I stamped it a little bit higher because I wanted it a little taller and to fill up that space on the right hand side. Once I finish all my stamping, I will go ahead and trim down the mask of the stem a little bit, only because I thought it would be weird if the stems went off the paper and instead of looking like they came from the ground, since the ladybugs were hanging out on the ground. So when I do my one layer scene cards, I usually go with ink blending for the background so I don't waste my Copic markers, and it's just a quick and easy way to color up a background, especially if I already have all the masking to create my scene. Might as well ink up the background while I have everything covered. For the grass, I actually don't know why I inked blended, because I will go in with a Copic marker and add texture for the grass like I normally do. And for the sky, it's actually just speckled egg for the entire background. Nothing super special, so I sped through that portion. Once I finish my ink blending, I will remove all the mask for all my little items, and because I didn't do heavy ink blending, I'll probably set these aside so I can use them at another time. For the stems itself, I just went in with a Copic friendly marker and extended the stems. Nothing super fancy. I do stop right before it hits the edge of the card so it looks like the flowers are coming out of the ground. And if you look really closely, these stems already have little texture bumps on the stems, so I just went in with my pen and added little dots and dashes, and you can't even tell that I did it myself. It just looks like the original image, especially when you color it up. It's a dark green that I'll be coloring up with it. You won't notice a difference. It's not a big deal if your lines aren't straight or it's not perfect. I don't think anyone would notice. For all my coloring, I am using my usual Copic markers. I have 3 markers for each of the areas. I go in with my darkest shade just to lay down where I think the shaded areas are and the shadows, and then I'll go in with my mid-tone and blend out with my lightest color. I did switch up my red combo a little bit because I decided to use the R24 color instead of my usual R27. The R24 is more of a red-orange, and I think that that color is more ladybug-like. So I just decided to play it up. While making this card, it just reminded me of this hike that I had gone on a few months ago with my sister and my cousins and my friends in Oakland. So Oakland is about 30 minutes away from San Francisco, and there's this one hike where you can see ladybugs hibernating for a certain period of months. And I think we caught it at the very end of their hibernation period. And it was one of those things that is kind of cool but kind of gross. I'm not into bugs, and so when I was asked to go on this hike, I was kind of hesitant, but it was actually kind of cool to see. There weren't as many as I expected, even though they said that it could be thousands of ladybugs hibernating. And because they're hibernating, they're not flying around, which I felt better about because I just don't like bugs flying around. It's actually interesting because they just look like berries on a tree and they were all clumped together. I guess they hibernate together, and you totally could miss it if you didn't know what you were looking for. When we had seen it, we almost missed it because it was just this one section of the park where they just were all at. Because other people were kind of gathering and staring, you kind of knew. Otherwise, if there was no one there, I probably would have walked by and wouldn't have known a difference. For the ladybugs' faces, I went with the color black because that's the color they are. And the difficulty with black is that it gets so dark. I used C9, C7, and C5, and I kept the C9 and C7 at the edge of their faces. Because the C5 is really light, it'll pick up that color and you'll still be able to see the facial features for the ladybugs. For the florals themselves, I actually went with a darker green because the ink that I used to ink blend the grass was kind of a dull green. It's not the usual mowed lawn that I tend to use. And I just decided to go with that dull green color, and I really like it. I haven't used this color combo before, and at first I was like, this is too dark of an olive green. It's almost brown. So I pulled in YG25, which is a brighter green color, and it really brought it to life. And I am really happy with how this color came out. So much so that I actually used it for the ground because I thought that once I colored the stems, it just was way too dark compared to the grass that I had. So I'm going in and creating blades of grass by just flicking upwards. And I use a variety of colors because I started off with a light color to kind of match the color that I had inked blended with. But then I didn't really like it because it just didn't match. So I used the same colors I used for the flower stems to color the bottom of the floor. And because this yellow green color kind of almost looks brown, it totally works. So it looks kind of like dirt, but not really, and it pulls in all that color from the stems and everything looks cohesive instead of these random dark flowers growing in this bright green grass. So for the background, I am just going in with a bunch of different greens, adding those blades of grass and adding additional texture. So the more colors and the more layers that you're adding on, it just adds to the texture of the background, and I really liked how it turned out. So it actually looks like blades of grass right behind them. So it's kind of a resting point for those ladybugs to be hanging out. And I thought that it just ended up really cool. For the florals themselves, these are poppies, and I tend to color like real life. So I looked them up, and of course there's orange, yellow, and red poppies. There's other colors as well, but I didn't want to use the reds because I already have them for the ladybugs, so I decided to use orange and yellow, and those are the colors that I see all around the park near me, and I just decided that they would be fun and bright, especially against that blue background. So I know that I haven't been around making a lot of videos, and that's because June was so busy for me with a bunch of deadlines, as well as kind of rebalancing my social life and life at home or life during the pandemic. I took on a lot more work for design teams during the pandemic, and now I'm realizing that it might be too much balancing that with my social life and actually going outside and having to commute soon. So I actually don't start commuting back to work until September. We're kind of doing a hybrid system where we are in the office 3 days a week and 2 days at home. But commuting just takes a while. Like for me, I have to go across town, and that takes about 45 to an hour. And that's just 2 hours of my life every day. And I actually enjoy that time because I'm always on the bus. I'm not driving, and so I can listen to podcasts, watch movies, catch up on news, things like that. And it's kind of like my quiet time in the morning and after work. So I actually don't mind the commute. It's a little different from being able to shut off your computer and then like roll into bed or go do your laundry. So it's going to take a bit of an adjustment, but I'm kind of excited to see people from work, not on Zoom or Google Meet. It's just a weird dynamic that I just haven't adjusted to because I kind of got tired of staring at my screen, and I think a lot of people have. And I know that a lot of people love the idea of working remote, but if you work remote, you end up seeing everyone virtually, and I don't know if I can do that for a longer period of time than I have to. So what are your thoughts on it? For me, I'm excited to go back to work. I think I might regret those words later on when I want to color and stay at home if work is a little bit slow, but for now I'm okay with it. You can check back with me to see if I feel the same way in a couple of months, but we'll see. I almost kind of wish that they would just let us work from home through the holidays and then start fresh in January, but I think that they're just anxious to get people back in the office as well. Anyway, I am almost done with my coloring, and once I finish coloring this last flower, I will be adding a sentiment, and I think these sentiments in this set are really cute. I really like the one that says "bug me anytime." That is the one that I decided to use because it is so funny. It's perfect for this card, and I just stamped it, and that completes the card. So I hope you enjoyed this video today, and I will see you guys next time with another one. Bye!